All right, welcome to this video where I'm going to talk about the top 5 reasons why I don't think the Elon Musk versus Mark Zuckerberg fight will ever happen. Now, I'm so sorry to burst your bubble. Trust me, I would love for that fight to happen, but I just don't think it's possible for these 5 reasons. Now, stay tuned for reason number 5 because that's my wild card. And in a separate video, I cover 5 reasons why I think maybe the fight could happen. Maybe. And number 5 is the wild card where I think it's actually a reason it won't happen, but it's also a reason that it could. Now let's get started with reason number 1 that I think this fight will never happen. Now I grew up fighting. I started when I was 12 years old, sparring, competing in fights. And let me tell you something about fighting. It is not for everybody, okay? Especially the training leading up to a fight. Number 1 reason I think this fight won't happen is because it will be way harder than they think it's gonna be once they actually start training for combat. One of the things you have to do in a combat sport to be really prepared to fight another person is you have to spar. Now, I'm not talking about that sparring that you've been seeing from Mark Zuckerberg posted on social media, that tech sparring with his trainer, where they're kind of like tapping around and going light, and the trainer's kind of throwing some punches at Mark, and Mark's blocking them. That's like drill sparring. It's great. It's awesome that he's doing it. As a matter of fact, I love that Mark Zuckerberg is challenging himself with martial arts. It's admirable. He definitely doesn't have to do it. He's got a ton of things on his agenda, I'm sure. It's a really cool thing that he's doing, right? But to prepare for this fight, Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg are actually gonna have to go in the ring, challenge themselves, and get hit by other people. Now, I've seen a ton of elite athletes or people, guys who you thought were tough guys or girls you thought were tough girls. They got in, maybe they looked great on the mitts, they started boxing, and right when the sparring started, they left the gym, they were gone forever. Getting hit sucks, so that's my number 1 reason why I think this fight will not happen. They're gonna get hit hard, they're gonna be like, this sucks, this is not for me. All right, now, reason number 2 that I think this fight will not happen, injury, right? Combat sport training is difficult, especially when you start sparring. You're gonna have the adrenaline going and you're gonna start doing things, your body's gonna move in ways that you thought weren't even possible. These guys are like, Mark Zuckerberg is 39, 40 years old. Elon Musk is 50 something years old. Are their bodies gonna be able to sustain that kind of pressure and that kind of pace that the training for a fight gives you? To me, it's doubtful. And even if they can, man, it becomes the perfect reason or excuse for these guys as the pressure starts to build why they'll pull out. They'll say, I hurt my elbow or something like that. So that's my reason number 2. Okay. All right, reason number 3 that I think you do not see this fight happen, maybe this should be reason number 1, is this fight, I have a hard time believing that it will get sanctioned. I don't think any athletic commission is gonna sanction a fight between a 52-year-old, 6'2", 200-something pound guy versus 39, 40-year-old, 140 pound, maybe 5'7", 5'8" guy. I just don't see that happening. Now, us at FightCamp, before we built the best home fitness workout in the world, boxing, kickboxing workouts on that bag from the comfort of your home, we have some experience, okay, working with athletic commissions. We have these punch trackers that are part of FightCamp. And way back then, we used to think that our business model was gonna be all about putting those punch trackers on the fists of the fighters and getting data during live real fights. And we ran into so much trouble with the athletic commissions in the United States. There's 50 of them. So in order to get something sanctioned, you have to go through all 50. All 50 have different rules. They're super strict. Now, maybe if Dana White's involved in Las Vegas or throughout the country has more pull than we did for sure, maybe he can get something over the line. But to me, that's my number 3 reason why I don't think this fight will happen. All right. Reason number 4. This is a big one too. Business pressure will lead to them saying, hey, you know what? For the sake of my business or because my investors are putting pressure on me, I have to pull out. You got both guys. They're at the pinnacle of success running these huge companies. These companies have thousands and tens of thousands of investors. These companies have boards, right? These boards and these investors expect these founders to be focused on those companies. And if they feel for 1 second that they're not focused on those companies, they're gonna make a lot of noise. And look, there's precedent for this. When Elon Musk was going ahead and he was buying Twitter. All the Tesla investors for sure are like, you should be focusing on Tesla. They're yelling and they're screaming about that. So Elon Musk dealt with those pressures when he bought Twitter. Mark Zuckerberg dealt with similar pressures, and not even because he was defocused from Facebook or Meta or whatever you call it now, just because his board, his investors didn't like the direction he was taking the company in with the metaverse stuff. So he took the company in that direction, and his investors, some of his investors got together, wrote an open letter to him, put a ton of pressure on him. It was Brad Gerstner, I believe it was. Wrote an open letter, said, hey, you're spending way too much money, time to get the company fit. And that pressure really mattered. It piled up on Mark Zuckerberg and it caused him to make serious changes within the business. So even though these guys are the kings, they're the CEOs, it's not only up to them. They have a lot of external pressures. That's reason number 4. I think the fight won't happen. Now, for my wild card, reason number 5. It's also a reason I think the fight could happen, but I'll talk about why I think this is going to contribute to it not happening. These guys have massive egos. Of course, how could they not? They're some of the most successful people, maybe the most successful people in our generation, which is what makes this so compelling, right? Huge egos. You have people, everything they've done, they've succeeded at. You have people telling them they're the greatest, and that's probably the reason that they're both so convinced that they can go in and fight when they've never fought in their entire life, right? That's why they're so convinced that they'll beat the other guys, because they have these massive egos. But once they start sparring, they start training, the doubts will start to enter their head, right? They're getting hit. Am I really cut out for this? The fears will start getting in there. And even the greatest fighters have these fears and have these doubts. They're unavoidable. Mike Tyson talks about it all the time. As a matter of fact, he was right back here recently. He was telling me about how that was something that he always struggled with, right? Was that confidence, but that ability to come over overcome those fears and then still show up as your best. That's what makes the best fighters the best fighters. That is not something that every single person possesses, and those fears will creep in. And personally, I think the fear of will I get humiliated in front of a bunch of people? Will I lose? How's that going to make me look? I think those fears will mount up, probably for both guys, at least for one guy, to the point where they're like, hey, this is not for me. All right. Those are my top 5 reasons why I think this Elon Musk versus Mark Zuckerberg fight will never happen. I really, truly, hopefully think I'm wrong, because I would love to see these guys fight. This would be like the most amazing pay-per-view of all time, okay? But sadly, I don't think it's going to happen. Now, if any of you are ever interested in competing, you're competitive, Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, you guys want to compete, but you don't want to take the lumps, you don't want to get hit, FightCamp is a great way for you to do that. You can take all your aggressions out on that bag right there. We have virtual workouts that you can follow along with. We have punch trackers that keep track of all your data, from your punch numbers to your power and all these things. You compete with other people. FightCamp's a solution for you. Well, all right, that's just my perspective, but I'm super curious to know. I want to know, what do you think will happen? Do you think the fight will happen? Do you think it won't? What reasons do you have for why it will or won't happen? Maybe you'll enlighten me. Maybe you'll change my mind. Okay, so make sure you comment, hit the like button, subscribe for more videos like this, and of course, check out FightCamp at FightCamp.com.